Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Okay, so today, the reason why I'm actually at the duel arena, I'm going to try and get through this real quick before I go into the guide. If you guys didn't already know, I did get cleaned, unfortunately. I know this has nothing to do with the viewers who are watching for the Zulrah guide. I apologize, it'll make sense in a second. I just wanted to let you know, I am pretty much cleaned, so the gear that I'm going to be using is probably just like cheap gear. I'm probably going to use Void, actually, instead of like putting on Arams and Armadillo and stuff like that. I wanted to give you all the heads up for those like commenting like, what the hell, why aren't you using your max gear? That's going to be basically why, but basically the concepts are going to stay the same and constant, so no matter what the gear you use, the same concept and methods are going to apply. So now that you know that, let's go ahead and dive right into the Zulrah guide. Okay guys, welcome back. Okay, so before we actually move on to actually killing Zulrah, I do want to go over some gear setups as well as the inventory that we're going to look at. So first, let's look at your gear. For any one of you that are actually starting Zulrah for the first time, I do recommend that you actually get your Void because it's just a lot easier to work with. If you use Arams or any other kind of Barrow's armor and you die at Zulrah, which is very likely if you're trying it for the first time, it will degrade all the way to 0, so you'll be losing money and it's going to be really frustrating. So to kind of alleviate that, I do recommend you do use Void. So basically, you're going to have your basic Void set up. Instead of this glory, you can replace with a glory. Like I said, I'm poor, so I'm going to be using the glory. Mage Cape, obviously. You got your Trident. If you don't have Trident and you're an Iron Man, I will go over later in the guide how to kill it with Mage only, but right now I'm kind of just specifying for people that are beginning to kill Zulrah for the first time and main accounts that are just trying to make money. So I will cover that later. On top of the Trident, you're going to want your Book of Darkness. This is just another item. You can replace that with Malediction Ward. It really doesn't matter. It's kind of whatever you prefer, and if whether you want to put money into it. But Book of Darkness has always done me fine. Your Diamond Bolts E. You're going to want the Diamond Bolts E for the range setup because they are the most accurate kind of bolts, and you're going to want that accuracy. And they also hit pretty good too, so you're going to want that accuracy as far as the range concept is concerned. That way you can hit as most as possible when you're actually ranging it. Mystic boots if you're poor like me, or you can switch those to infinity boots and or enlightened, or maybe not enlightened, what is it called, you know, the put the eternal boots, that's what it is. I don't know why I said enlightened, but anyway, other than that, you need a ring of recoil. Now if you've never done Zulrah before and you don't really understand it, there's these little snakeling spawns at Zulrah's shrine that will hit you. They only have 1 HP though, and so that's basically why we use a Ring of Recoil. They'll hit you and they basically die instantly. If you don't use a Ring of Recoil, you're going to be taking way too much damage and you're going to die probably to the Snakelings instead of Zulrah itself. So as far as the mage setup, that's what you're going to want. Now if I move on over to the inventory right now, this is kind of what I have. I kind of replaced everything. I have my Void Ranger helm now. I also brought my Ava switch to save some bolts. Snakeskin boots and the law book. This way you can get your range bonus. Obviously, replace things where necessary if you have more money. Fury there, Armadillo crossbow, sorry, whatever you're feeling, and Piccation boots if you have it. Other than that, that's basically all there is to it. Like I said before though, instead of using like a Glory or Fury, you can bring in a Cult switch and switch to Fury when you're ranging. That's perfectly fine. That's actually what I used to do, but I just simply can't afford a Fury right now because I'm a pathetic, clean, staking addict. So that's basically what's going on there. But that's basically what's going to be your gear setup right now, and that's as easy as that. Now, Zulrah starting out, you're always going to be maging first. So I'm going to go over the phases very in depth and make sure that you understand how Zulrah works and each one of its possible cycles that it goes through, and I'll make sure that you understand it to the best of possible. That way by the end of this guide, hopefully you'll be able to know how to kill Zulrah very efficiently, and it's going to increase your confidence level and be able to kill it yourself. So other than that, we're going to move on to the inventory. In the inventory, I do like to bring an extra recoil ring. If you're going to be taking longer Zulrah kills, which is very likely when you're starting Zulrah for the first time, I would recommend that you bring that extra recoil ring because sometimes your ring will break and you're going to want it that way, especially if you're about to kill Zulrah and it's down to food, being like, how you're surviving. You definitely want to have that extra ring just to kind of as like an added safety net, which is really nice. Other than that, we want to bring a range pot, 1 prayer pot. You might want to bring 2 depending on your prayer level, but if you have like 70 or higher, I think this will be just fine, especially if you prayer flick, but you don't have to. Other than that, you're going to want to bring an anti-venom plus 4. I do recommend that you get the plus. They are more expensive, but even if you know how to do Zulrah, and learning Zulrah, it's just overall going to be better. You usually only have to use 1 dose per kill, unless you just have like a 10-minute kill, which is really unlikely. Even if you're starting out Zulrah first time, you'll probably kill it a lot sooner than 10 minutes. Other than that, we just got 4 Karambwans. Now, since you're starting out for your first time, you can add a couple. That's completely fine. It's just basically safe food. And if you're taking a lot of damage really fast, it's nice to be able to regain that HP very quickly. And the rest sharks, obviously with bringing some Zul-Andra teleports. Now, I am aware that Zul-Andra teleports are extremely expensive right now. I should have actually just saved mine and sold them now, but I didn't know how much they were going to be. So since they are on the increase, I am aware that a lot of you do not want to spend your money into those. So there's obviously some alternate methods to get there, and I'm going to show you right now. Okay guys, so as basically the bare minimum way of being able to get to Zulrah, this is basically with the only requirement being completion of Regicide. You can go to any charter ship. I'm just here at the Catherby docks right now, but you can use any charter ship you want. You're going to want to hit charter and select Port Tyrus. It's going to cost you 1,600 gold, so you're going to have to lose a slot if this is your transportation method, but it's only 1,600 and it's not too bad. Once you cross the gangplank here, if I open up my world map, we are here on the dock of Port Cyrus. All you're going to want to do is walk south, a little bit east, and you're at Zulrah Shrine. And that's method 1 of getting here. Honestly, it's really quick if this is the only method you can do, and it's not bad. However, there's one more method if you don't want to use teleports, and I'll show you right now. Okay guys, so the second method of actually getting to Zul-Andra is from use of fairy rings. Now there's a couple of fast ways that you can get to them, and if you can't do any of these 2 methods, I wouldn't really recommend it. I would just probably recommend just going to the Catherby docks and doing it that way, just because I don't think it would be worth your time, just simply because these are the fastest. Now, the absolute fastest way to do this with the fairy rings is just to use the quest point cape. If you do have the quest point cape, just hit teleport on it. This is a new added feature, which is really nice. It's going to teleport you straight next to this fairy ring, and you can take that to Zul-Andra, or near it rather, and you can take the agility shortcut across. Now, obviously, I know a lot of you aren't going to have the quest point cape, so another option is if you have Slayer rings. You can use the third option for the teleport and teleport to the Relica Slayer cave. Simply walk outside the entrance, and once you exit there, there's going to be a fairy ring right to your west. Once again, a really fast way to get to a fairy ring. And once you do that and teleport to Zul-Andra, there is a level 76 agility requirement to actually cross it. Now, unfortunately, I'm 75 agility, so when I go and do this method, I do have to bring an agility potion. Meaning you can do this at a minimum of 71 agility. Once you're 71 agility, you can use a Summer Pie boost to get that +5 boost, and you can cross it that way. However, if you have the money, and once you've learned how to kill Zulrah, and especially once you can kill Zulrah in multiple times per trip, it's honestly worth it to bring teleports, because once you get confident and you're killing it again and again and doing multiple kill trips, you're actually making plenty of money back and just replacing these teleports easily. However, especially if you're learning it right now, I'd say fairy rings are probably your best option. So if you do have that 76 requirement, or you can boost to it, definitely do that. It's going to get you there pretty quickly, and it's going to basically be free, kind of. I mean, the only thing you're going to be using is a quest cape teleport or your Slayer rings and some agility potions if you need a boost. But other than that, that's basically all the ways you can get to Zul-Andra. So now that we know how to get there, let's go over how to start killing Zulrah and talk about the cycles and phases it goes through and just break it down. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, welcome back. So now, once you've decided how you're going to get to Zul-Andra and find your transportation method, I'll show you where I am right now. We're basically on the west side of the docks right now. And what you're going to want to do is, you're going to see High Priestess Zulrah, I think that's how you say it. I don't even know how to pronounce RuneScape things anymore, but you're going to want to talk to her. And I've already done this, but you're basically going to run through the options. You can kind of just spacebar through it. She's going to talk to you about sacrificing someone for Zulrah. You basically want to tell her, can I be sacrificed instead? And she'll go through that option with you. And once you've basically gotten through the dialogue and figured out that she'll let you sacrifice yourself, you can now kill Zulrah. So once you go to that and you have everything you need, head on over to the actual docks and you can click on the sacrificial boat. And Priestess Zul, I'm not even going to say that, will let you actually go to Zulrah, and she'll take you there. And that's really all you need to get started. Once again, guys, the only requirement, bare requirement to kill Zulrah is Regicide. But I'll go over with the skill requirements right now. Okay guys, so now that we know how to get to Zulrah and actually start killing it, I want to go over the recommended skill requirements for you to actually kill it, because if you have too low of one of these, obviously, yeah, you can still kill it, but if you're a beginner to Zulrah, it's going to be a lot harder for you. So what I would recommend is this. Obviously, you need your baseline completion of Regicide. That's just required to get to Zulrah anyway. I do recommend that you have 75 plus magic. This is simply so you can wield a trident and get the toxic trident if you want to buy it. If you don't have a trident, it's going to be really hard. That's basically the best magic weapon you can use. You can auto cast it. You don't have to have runes in your inventory while you use it. It's just overall good, and it's just a good solid weapon if you're a main account. If you're an Iron Man, like I said, I'm going to go over stuff later, and I'll show you how I actually killed on my Iron Man with like Ivan Staff or Claws of Guthix, whatever you have. However, just if you're a main and beginning to this, use the trident. It's definitely going to be the best for you. Other than that, you're going to want to use, I want to have 80 plus range. Now, like I said, you can do this with like 70 range, whatever. If you go anywhere below 70, I really just would not recommend doing Zulrah right now until you get your range up. I recommend 80 plus just so that you can hit more accurately. Obviously, if you have Void and you know, like higher tier armor, it's going to be easier for you. But if you have that higher range level, it's obviously going to give you some more accuracy and damage, and it's going to help you out in the long run. Other than those two, I do recommend that you also have 85 plus hit points. Now, hit points is kind of one that I'm least worried about for you guys, but I thought I'd throw it in there because Zulrah can max a 41 on you, both with magic and range. So sometimes that does, and it will happen. She'll hit 41 back to back, and if you don't have 82 plus hit points, or 83 rather, you're gonna die from that. Not including snakeling damage that you're gonna take along the line. So if you're beginning this, just obviously, yeah, you can do this with lower hit points, but I would recommend 85 just so you can combo eat back to max health, and it should be easier for you. But that's basically it, guys. Now that you know the stats and the gear and how to get to Zul-Andra, we can finally break down the cycles and phases that Zulrah has and learn how to kill the Prophet Snake. Let's do it. So one more thing I actually did want to show you guys before we go in there. I am using a crossbow here. Now, obviously, I know some people are going to tell me in the comments, use a blowpipe. I know I usually use a blowpipe, and I actually always use a blowpipe. I actually prefer it. However, when you're learning Zulrah, I definitely recommend that you use a crossbow. Since the crossbow has higher range, you're not going to have to worry about it automatically moving your character into like toxic clouds and stuff. And that's a big concern when you're learning the snake and how to kill it. Because if you're using a blowpipe, it has a shorter range on it, so it's going to move your character into toxic clouds. You're not going to want that, especially when Zulrah is going to be doing damage on you. You're going to want to basically limit that damage as much as possible. So that's why I recommend using the crossbow, at least when you're learning it. Once you actually learn the phases and you know where to stand, you can kind of know when to switch the blowpipe into long range mode, so it won't move your character, and you can do it a little bit more. But anyways, guys, that's basically all there is to it. Let's go in here. Now, once you have it all set up, and you can actually see this in your chat box, return to Zulrah Shrine, or go to Zulrah Shrine if it's your first time, go ahead and hit yes. Now, the cool thing about Zulrah, right now, it's basically just waiting on you. You can click here, you can just prepare whatever you need to. Zulrah is always going to start off the exact same way. You're always going to be able to get some mage hits in it before it actually chooses the cycle it's going to go into. Now, in this guide, I'm going to be referring to things as cycles, and I'm also going to refer to other things as phases. Now, there's 3 cycles that Zulrah can actually circulate through. Those are its melee cycle, it also has its range cycle, and it also has its magic cycle. The melee cycle, in my opinion, is actually the hardest because the melee cycle is the only one that can actually change. There's about halfway through it, there's ways that it splits off into different other sections, and it's probably the hardest to learn just because there's simply more things that you have to memorize. However, with their magic and range phase, they stay the same. They stay constant. They will never change. If you memorize either the range or magic cycle, you're basically got it. You know where to stand and everything. You've basically got it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you where to stand first of all. So once you've hit the island, this is always what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to the northeast side of the island, turn on Mystic Might, go ahead and right-click Zulrah and attack it as soon as it lets you focus in on your character. Now, you're always going to want to stand as far north as you can. I do recommend that you actually stay on this block here because oh man, I don't have left click on, but basically, if you get magic or the melee cycle, sorry, it's actually in range phase right now. I'm actually gonna go ahead and put this on. I don't know why I haven't done this already. Always left click, thank you. It's gonna make this a bit easier. Why is it still doing it? Left click were available. I don't understand. I'm gonna fix this real quick. Okay, guys, sorry about that. Me being the smart person I am, I was hitting left click on players instead of NPCs. So now that we got that, I'm going to go over this one more time. So once again, what you're going to want to do is run to the northeast side, go ahead and right click attack Zulrah as soon as you can. You're going to want to stand on this block here because if it goes into a melee cycle, it's going to target you, and you're going to be able to move easily just over to your left here, and it's going to be a lot easier that way. That's really all you need to know. Since it's actually a melee cycle now, get one hit in here, it's going to target you. You're going to want to move over here so it can't hit you. It's going to target you again, and just move here so it can't hit you. It's going to be in your line of sight. So I'm not going to go over the cycles right now simply because I'm going to break those down more. But I wanted to show you guys the actual what happens and where to stand before I actually break these down. So Zulrah, like I said, it's going to always start off in the same way. So once you know how to run to the northeast and just attack it, that's always how you're going to start it, and that's always where you're going to stand. Okay guys, so now that you know where to stand and start attacking Zulrah on that northeast side of the island, I'm thinking the easiest way for you all to learn this, or actually start learning it, is by watching me and just by me kind of explaining along the way just where to stand, what to pray, and when to attack with what kind of attack method, whether it be range of magic and where. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through each cycle, once again the melee, range, and magic cycle, and I'm going to literally dissect and break it down and tell you exactly what to do. Like I said, the range and magic cycle are, in my opinion, going to be easier because they don't change. They're static. They literally do not change. It's going to be the exact same rotation every time you see those cycles. And once again, you know it's a cycle because after you attack Zulrah and after it shifts from that first phase, it's going to go into that either bluish green, which is magic cycle. It's going to go into the greenish yellow, which is range cycle, or it's going to see it's kind of like a reddish orange, which is the melee cycle. So you can be able to decipher which is which just by based on the color. Okay guys, so starting off in no particular order, this time I'm actually going to do the magic cycle. Start off with the magic cycle. So I've slowed it down a little bit just to make explaining this and visualizing this a little bit easier. So we're sticking to the same theme of running to the northeast side of the island and attacking Zulrah, kind of standing in the same spot that I do. So just make sure you're praying Mystic Might and putting some damage onto it. Now, as soon as you see Zulrah go underwater and you see it go into the magic phase, go ahead and instantly put on your range gear as quick as you can. Drink a range pot and put on Protect from Magic as well as Eagle Eye. Start attacking it. Zulrah is not going to actually attack you right away. It's going to throw out some snakelings. Then you'll start to see the attacks come in. So just continue attacking it for a little bit. Now, following this, go ahead and get ready to run to the other side of the island and switch to your magic gear. Now, as you're switching onto your magic gear, you're going to want to put on Protect from Range. So I'm going to go ahead and put on my gear, put on Protect from Range, and my Mystic Might prayer. You'll see me get one hit on the way over there. Now, I'm going to stand on this square right here. You're going to see me do this a lot. Standing diagonal to these pillars right here is really useful for multiple reasons. I'll go over how useful it is with the melee phase here in a second. Once you do this, you're going to switch back to your range gear because we're going to have another magic phase. So you can put on your Protect from Magic Eagle Eye and get some more hits. Drink prayer and eat when you need to, and just continue to attack it. And that's basically all you're doing right now. Some snakelings are going to attack you, but that's why we got the recoil rings to kill them right away. Now following this phase, you're going to want to run to the other side of the island as soon as you see Zulrah go underwater. So I'm going to switch back to my mage gear, stand diagonally to this pillar once again. Now the reason this is so useful is because on the melee phase, and in this situation, Zulrah is going to target you. It's going to try and hit you, but since you're standing outside of its hit range, it can't do anything, and it's not going to damage you, and you just standing there is going to be really easy. Following this, you're going to keep your mage gear on, Protect from Range. Zulrah is going to come up out of the water to your east. Go ahead and attack it. The good thing about the range phases is they never will be able to do damage to you as long as you got that Protect prayer up in time. So just get some damage in there. Following that, you're going to have another range phase coming up from the south. This time it's going to be non-aggressive, luckily, so you can turn your Protect from Range off, keep Mystic Might on, and attack Zulrah as soon as you can. Now, pay attention to this toxic cloud. You see it as it went away. As soon as I saw that it went away, I'm going to run to the other side of the island, get one hit in, and make sure that I stand back on that diagonal square to that pillar, because Zulrah is going to throw out some toxic clouds. Now, at this point, we're going to get back into our range gear because it's going to be going into another magic phase. So put your prayers on, Protect from Magic and Eagle Eye, start attacking it. Now here you're going to actually see me stop attacking Zulrah because I've got its health so low. I needed to make sure I didn't hit it so I could finish off the cycle and show you all what to do. So at this point you would normally just keep hitting Zulrah and wait for it to go back underwater. As soon as this one goes back underwater, we're going to run to the other side of the island, put on our mage gear, and protect from range, and put on Mystic Might. Stand back on that diagonal pillar like I showed you. Keep attacking it, and that's basically all you're doing right now. As soon as you see it go underwater again, we're going to switch back into our range gear and put on our Protect from Magic and Eagle Eye because it's going to go back into that magic phase. This is basically all you're going to want to do. Stay planted here. Now following this phase is going to go into Jad phase. I'm going to slow that down even more so I can actually show you what to do. But as of now, just keep Eagle Eye on and keep attacking it. So we're going to be staying right here. It's going to go underwater and I'm going to slow it down. Alright guys, so next is Jad phase. Zulrah is going to come out of the water. We're going to protect for magic and you're going to see me attack it. As soon as you see that magic attack coming out of Zulrah's mouth, switch to the other prayer. As soon as you see that range attack come out, switch to magic. And repeat this process. That's basically all you're going to want to actually do. Unfortunately, I killed Zulrah too fast, but it's going to repeat that pattern for a bit. And that's all you got to do for the magic phase. And that's basically all there is to that magic cycle. Let's move on to the range cycle. Okay guys, up next we're moving on to the range cycle. So this time, basically do the exact same thing, run to the northeast. We're going to get as many hits as this thing and hopefully as much damage on Zulrah as we possibly can. Now for range, the range cycle, you're going to be really attentive. As soon as you see Zulrah go underwater and it goes back into a green phase, you want to put on that range prayer as soon as you possibly can. Unlike the magic cycle, this range cycle will attack you instantly as soon as it comes up out of the water. So you want to have that prayer on as soon as you possibly can so you don't get hit. Now as soon as Zulrah goes underwater this time, we're going to want to be ready to run to the west side of the island. Okay, so while you're running to that west side of the island, while it's going underwater, it's going to go into a melee phase. Now I'm going to get one hit on this, you don't have to. But at this point you're going to want to extend, not exactly, but you have to stand at least where I do here on this square because Zulrah is going to throw out all these toxic clouds and we don't want to be getting poison damage by those. So keep attacking Zulrah. You're going to notice it's going to target me here. It's going to start wagging its tail. That means it's targeting you. You're going to want to move out of its way, so move to this square. It's going to target you again and move back. Once you get one hit in, switch to your range gear right away. Put on a range pot. Protect from magic and put on Eagle Eye and get ready for a mage phase. So we're going to put as much damage into Zulrah as we possibly can, and that's basically all there is for this phase. Now following this, as soon as it goes underwater, get ready to run to the opposite side once again, this time going into your magic gear for another range phase. So put on your Protect from Range prayer and Mystic Might and stand diagonal to that pillar. Sticking with that same theme, you're going to be doing that a lot, and I think standing diagonally is actually a good part of the learning process. It's going to help a lot easier, and it's just a general good idea to do. Now following this, we're going to go back into a mage phase a little bit to the east. So put on your range gear, put on the prayers you need to do, stand right here and get some hits in. Now following this, we're going to run back to the west side of the island for a range phase. This time switch back into your range gear and you're going to stand to that diagonal pillar again. Now the nice thing about this phase here is it's actually non-aggressive. So if you're running low on health, this is actually a good time to eat. And while you're standing here, no damage is going to be put on you, but you can damage Zulrah if you have health. You can go and put as much damage as you can on it. Following this phase, we're going to have another range phase to the west, except this time it's going to be aggressive, so you want to have that ranged prey on before it attacks you. So put as many hits as you can into Zulrah here and just keep going for a little bit. Following this is going to be a magic phase to the south, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to my range gear, put back on my magic prayer and Eagle Eye and start attacking it. Now it's important here that while you're attacking it, you're going to run to the east side of the island because while it's in this magic phase, it's going to spit out some more toxic clouds, and we don't want to be standing in those to be damaging us while Zulrah is also attacking us because we don't want that stacked damage and we don't want to be taking that XX damage. Now as soon as Zulrah starts spitting out those clouds, you can take Magic Prey off, keep Eagle Eye on, and get ready for your Jad phase again. Jad phase is going to be the exact same location again. I'm going to go ahead and... So just like the magic cycle, the range cycle is going to end with a Jad phase to the east. It's going to attack with magic first. So as soon as you see that range or magic hit, switch to your range prayer. As soon as you see the range attack, switch back to the magic prayer. See that magic prayer, so switch to the range prayer, and keep doing that all the way through this kill. So basically, whatever attack you see coming out of its mouth, make sure you switch to the other prayer and just follow that throughout the Jad phase, and that's basically all you have to do. You can do it as it flaps its wings, or you can do it as you see the attack. It's whatever you're more comfortable with, but that's basically, if you want to slow it down a little bit more and just kind of rewatch what I do, that's basically how you take 0 damage from the Jad phase, and that is the range cycle complete. It's going to be like that every time. And so now that magic and range cycles are done, let's move on to the melee cycle. Alright guys, so this is where things are going to actually start getting a little tricky in my opinion. Now we're moving on to the last cycle, the melee cycle. Now the reason I think the melee cycle is so hard is because it can actually come out to be 2 different outcomes, and I'll basically show you how to recognize that. So as soon as Zulrah goes down under the water after that first phase, you're going to see that melee cycle pop up. Get 1 hit in, then move over to the east a little bit, so it's going to target you, but it's not going to be able to hit you. Once it targets you again like that, move to this square right here. It's going to completely miss you once again. Now once you get a trident hit there, put on your range gear and switch to Protect from Magic and Eagle Eye, because a mage phase will follow. Go ahead and get as much damage into that as possible. Now following this phase is actually what determines which melee cycle it is. I'm going to refer to this as melee cycle 1, and the other one is melee cycle 2. Now melee cycle 1 is actually going to result with Zulrah being on the west side of the island. And Zulrah here is actually not aggressive. We're going to stand at this diagonal pillar once again, get some hits into it just like this, and just keep doing this. Now following this phase is going to be another mage cycle, so as soon as you see it go underwater, or a little before, put your range gear back on, put Protect from Magic back on, and Eagle Eye back on, and attack Zulrah to the south. Now following this phase, there's actually going to be another melee cycle in the middle. You can stay where you are for this one. As soon as you see Zulrah go underwater, put your magic gear back on. You can turn Protect for Magic off and keep Mystic Might on, and that's basically all you got to do for now. So you're going to have a little break here. You're going to get some range hits on Zulrah, but once again, as soon as Zulrah goes back underwater, we can switch back into our magic gear and put Mystic Might on. Now again, since we're on the diagonal side of this pillar, Zulrah's melee form is not going to be able to hit you, which is really nice about this. You can get a couple of free hits in. Now as soon as you see Zulrah go underwater again, you're going to want to run to the other side of the island and protect from range. Another range phase is going to follow this. As long as you got range sprayer on and your magic gear on, you should be good to go. So go to the other side of the island and start attacking Zulrah yet again. So we're going to get some hits on here. Now following this, there's going to be another magic phase to the south. So we're going to put our range gear on, run to the other side of the island, put our prayers back on with Eagle Eye, start attacking Zulrah, and I'm going to continue to stand at the diagonal pillar and just get some hits in on this. Now this is actually, the melee cycle is the only cycle that has Jad phase on the west side of the island. So the difference here is, since this Jad phase is on the west side of the island, it's going to attack with the range attack first instead of the magic attack first. So as soon as Zulrah goes underwater here with the magic phase, you want to make sure that you're in your magic gear, and you want to make sure that you're praying range first. And just continuing the method. As soon as you see that range attack, put magic on. As soon as you see that magic attack, put range on. And continue that process through the entire kill. And that's basically all there is to do to kill the Jad phase here. Now, I'm actually, in this case, I tried to kill Zulrah a little bit sooner, so I didn't have to run to the other side of the island. Normally, as soon as you see it turn and spit out clouds, you want to run to the other side of the island, meaning right then. But I actually just ignored the toxic clouds, and I tried to kill it before it switched back to its normal phase and a reset, basically. So basically, it went back underwater. It's going to go back into that little melee form here, and I basically just finish it off here. However, like I said, you want to be back on that northeast side by the time that Jad phase ends on any cycle. So that's the end of Melee Cycle 1. Rewatch this if you need to, and let's move on to Melee Cycle 2. Okay guys, so now this is actually going to be following Melee Cycle 2. Now I actually have the clip frozen here just so I can kind of explain to you why I'm doing this. So like I said, for the Melee Cycle, there's actually 2 different versions of it. Melee Cycle 1, which I just showed you, will have, following this magic phase right here, is going to have a range phase to the west that is non-aggressive. However, with melee cycle 2, which I'm going to be discussing here right now, following this magic phase is going to be another range phase, but instead of being to the west, it's going to be to the south, and it's going to be aggressive. So if you see Zulrah in range phase following this to the south, make sure you put your prey range up, and you'll see me do that here in a second, and run to the other side both times. However, if you see Zulrah towards the west, that means it's going to be non-aggressive, and you can keep Mystic Might on, but you do not have to prey range in that situation. So now that you know that, let's go ahead and go through melee cycle 2. Okay guys, so starting off, melee cycle 2 is the exact same way as melee cycle 1. So I'm just going to go through this once again. Run to the northeast side, attack Zulrah, get as much damage as you possibly can on it as possible. It's going to look really familiar. It's actually going to look identical at first to melee cycle 1. You're not going to be able to tell the difference until the third phase. So the melee cycle, or the melee phase, sorry, is going to pop up. We're going to attack it, move over once again to dodge that first melee attack. It's going to target us again, and we're going to move once again to dodge that second attack. Now once again, we're going to go into a mage phase. This is going to be, exactly identical. However, what differentiates this phase and the last phase is what happens after this. For melee cycle 2, following this is going to be a range phase to the south, indicating an aggressive range phase instead of a non-aggressive to the west. So you want to run to the same side of the island, except this time you want to have prey range on and get some hits on Zulrah there. You can still stand on that same diagonal pillar, and the order of this phase is going to change a little bit differently too. This time, following this phase, is going to be a melee phase in the center. So you can keep your magic gear on, stay exactly where you are. Zulrah is not going to be able to hit you in this phase and on this cycle, which is really nice. However, following this is going to be that magic phase. It's going to be coming in there somewhere, and this is where it's going to be. So put on your range gear, protect from magic, and Eagle Eye, and go ahead and attack Zulrah. Now, following this phase, you're going to run back to the east side of the island and put on your magic gear once again for another range phase. So I'm going to put on Protect from Range, Mystic Might, start attacking it. Actually, this time you don't even need Protect from Range on because this phase is actually not aggressive. So really all you need is Mystic Might, which is pretty cool. So keep attacking it. Following this is going to be another magic phase. So as soon as Zulrah goes underwater, go ahead and switch to that as needed and put on your prayers and go ahead and attack it. Now this is where you want to be attentive again. As soon as these smoke clouds go away, you're going to want to the other side while continuing to attack Zulrah. So kind of just click on the square and click Zulrah until you get over there. And this is basically the part that you all know. Following this is going to be that Jad phase once again. It's going to end up in the same spot. So put on your magic gear, put on Protect Range, and go into the Jad phase as you normally would. Just switching prayers when you need to. And that's all there really is to it. Now, I'm actually glad this happened. This is the first time that I actually had to go through the Jad phase and into the next cycle. So I can show you kind of what to do. You'll start to memorize when to run, but at some point you're going to have to run to the other side. He's going to stop attacking you and spit out smoke clouds, and at that point you want to run to the northeast side of the island once again to stay safe. And as soon as the Jad phase ends, it's going to kind of reset that cycle with the same phase you started with of that cycle, in this case melee. And this is going to be actually the last phase of the current cycle we're in, and then once it does that, it's going to completely reset Zulrah like it was when we came in. So essentially what's happening now, it's basically exactly like we came in from the boat. It's on that starting phase and on that pre-phase before it goes into another cycle. So I was able to actually finish it off before it went into another cycle, and that's all there is to it. So that's basically all there is to the melee cycle 1 and melee cycle 2, just some minor differences. Alright guys, so that is going to basically conclude my Zulrah guide. I did want to show you kind of like the basics on how to get to Zulrah, kind of what to wear, recommended stats, and really just more importantly just break down each of Zulrah's cycles and phases and show you where to stand and where to attack it and what phase is coming as when. But basically Zulrah guides they're actually really tricky to make, but what I wanted you all to get out of this guide is just being able to have a reference point to go back and watch. I slowed down some of the more important parts so you all could watch how I changed my prayers, where exactly I standed, but I wanted to end you off with a couple of tips and kind of just things to remember. If you'll remember back in most of the cycles, I was spending most of my time standing on those diagonal pillars. And honestly, you'll never really have to stand off those except on the cycle, or the phase, sorry, following the magic cycle, because following the first phase of the magic cycle is that melee phase in the middle where you have to stand so the clouds don't hit you. other than that, most of the time you're going to be standing right on those diagonal pillars, so that's just a good thing to remember. And another good thing to remember is you're going to be moving west to east sides of the island a lot. A lot of you kind of just, it's going to get to a point where you can just literally just know when to move to the west or east, but more than likely you're going to be moving a lot more. So if you feel like you should move, you probably should to avoid the gas. But once again, feel free to go back through the video, kind of reference what I did, so you know where to stand. I think that's kind of one of the trickiest parts to learning Zulrah is where to stand, because what people will do is, on top of taking damage from Zulrah, they're taking that poisonous gas damage, and that just, it makes Zulrah a lot harder than it needs to be. Another thing that I wanted to mention, guys, that I didn't already is the use of a rune pouch. For those of you that actually have 94 Magic and Vengeance and Lunar Spellbook, you can actually bring the Venge runes for when Zulrah attacks with that range hit during the mage phase to basically get faster kills. However, I didn't want to throw that in the main tutorial because it's going to be too much to do at once. When you're first learning Zulrah, you're just going to want to focus on the basics and try and learn it slowly. You know, you don't want to add too much on until you literally have mastered killing Zulrah. So feel free to bring that once you've learned it a little bit better and you can get a little bit faster kills. And also I wanted to bring up using the blowpipe again. Once you feel like using the crossbow, you have basically mastered it and you know exactly when to switch to magic or range and what to do when and where. You can actually try using a blowpipe, and I would actually highly recommend that, especially with Void. You can get extremely fast kills. The tricky part about using a blowpipe is when to use rapid and when to use long range, because you don't want to be moving into those toxic clouds because of that shorter distance between the blowpipe and the crossbow. But other than that, guys, that's basically it. That's all there is to Zulrah. Once again, if you want to try and focus on learning a specific cycle, remember that logout technique. It's actually really useful. So if you see, oh man, I'm trying to learn melee cycle, and the range or mage cycle pops up, you can just log out right there and just kind of learn the melee cycle until you get it, which is completely fine to do that. I know I said earlier in the guide that I was going to show an Iron Man kind of how to kill it with Ivan staff and stuff, but simply because of time right now, I just don't have enough time because this video is long enough as it is. But anyways, guys, I want to thank you all for watching. As I like to end all my guides, feel free to suggest down below what you would like to see in my next guide. Someone actually suggested to me in my last video that I should make a money-making guide, and I figured this could kind of tie into that because I know most of you know that Zulrah is kind of one of the most popular money-making methods in the game. So I figured this would actually be a good guide to throw out. But I can also make just a plain, simple money-making guide, how I like to make money on my main. Zulrah is obviously part of that, but it's not all of that, so I can show you that if you want to. But feel free to show me what guides you would like to see in the future. If you did like this guide and you got some support out of it, feel free to leave a like down below. And if you want to be notified when I make new videos in the future, feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. So anyways, guys, hope you got some use out of this guide. Tell me how you liked it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them below. I will answer them immediately. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care, guys.